This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter for RCR Wireless News. I'm here today with Ramiro Nobre, who is VP of Business Development and Solutions Engineering with a focus on Asia and Latin America for Accedian Networks. Welcome, Ramiro.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great, glad to have you here. So we're going to talk about a few different things today. 5G, a lot of the preparation that's going into that and what's ahead for networks. I want to start out by asking you, you have, I think, kind of an interesting perspective being that you focus both on Asia and on Latin America for Accedian. Tell us a little bit about what trends you're seeing, what you're hearing from operators, what are they interested in right now. Give us some perspective on what you hear from folks around the world.
Well, the trends are pretty much universal. 4G, planning for more, customers want more, everybody's chasing Pokemons all over the world right now. So it's really about providing the customers with a network that's robust enough to support them. The challenges are where the various networks are in the revolution, where some are fiber rich, very, very over-dimensioned, while others have a lot of legacy portions of the network to deal with. And there it's really a challenge for optimization. Make it as good as it possibly can be to then support the 4G and future technologies. Okay,
great. Now, one of the things that I think comes up, but maybe not as frequently as it could or should in terms of 5G, is the conversation around backhaul. You hear a lot about what's going to happen in terms of channel sounding and RF and the radio interface, and I think you also hear the advances going on in the core network in terms of 40G, 100G, even 400G talk, but in between, you have that backhaul piece, and I'm curious what your perspective is on 5G and backhaul.
Well, it's becoming more and more about quality. If you imagine that you have a dirt road and you put a Ferrari on it, it's not going to go very fast. Well, now you have a 4, 5, 6 lane highway. You can put all the Ferraris on it and everything's going great, except like in the real world, things change. There's a pebble, there's a rock, there's a crack, there's a speed bump. And you have to be able to know what's going on there. So the challenge is in going forward, it's really about making sure that the backhaul not only can support the speed required, but the quality required so that your latency is within check, your packet loss is within check. That way you do have the right user experience. There's nothing worse than having this phenomenal brand new network and this phone that you just spent in some countries a month or two salary on. And you can't watch that video that you're so dying to watch. And it's because there's an issue in the backhaul of the network. So those are many of the challenges that we're seeing.
Okay. And kind of a follow-up question on that. When you get to those higher speeds and the desire for lower latency, do things become more sensitive to even those very small disturbances?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, you start looking at things in microseconds. You start looking at packet loss in the 0.000 percentages. So you have to be able to measure it. You can look at a network and you can say, hey, my network's great, but if you're having 50 millisecond outages, 100 millisecond outages, your calls aren't going to be very good. So being able to look into that granular of a level and be able to say, yes, my network is good, or better yet, I'm starting to see something in my network that I need to address. And being able to address that before it becomes something catastrophic. We've seen entire portions of network going down because of a synchronization issue. And it all started with something really small. And if that small thing had been caught, you would have been able to address the issue. Doesn't mean it wouldn't have gone down, but you would have been able to address it faster and your recovery time would have been faster. If you have alternate paths for those customers, if you can switch to another portion of the network and you're having a problem somewhere, you can start making plans for that. So in our world, it's about being predictive, it's about being proactive, and somewhat being able to change the future.
Okay. So speaking of the future, as we look forward to 5G, I think there's another piece that comes into play here, and that's the role of virtualization. So what are you seeing in terms of that? What are some of the challenges what are some of the opportunities? There's a lot of interest, I think, and a lot of movement, but we're still in early days for this, and I'm curious as to where you see it going.
asking people about their opinion of virtualization is the equivalent of that dress that people couldn't tell whether it was blue or orange a while back. Everyone has a different opinion, and the reality is that is what they're seeing. So who's right or who's wrong? But what we're seeing is there's a big push towards less hardware or less proprietary hardware. The operators across the board want to see stuff that's more uniform. So in our world, when we look at virtualization, is how can we put our solutions on common off-the-shelf servers and still be able to get the same granularity and accuracy of measurements with the absolute minimal amount of hardware being required. We have a customer right now in Asia that has deployed their entire network, tens of thousands of mobile sites, over 100,000 test sessions without one piece of Accedian hardware. And that is due to our ability to go in and do the virtualization.
Wow. And you see more of that type of thing happening. What are some of the challenges when it comes to virtualization and monitoring? You're talking about, latency, automation, analytics and data. There are a lot of pieces that go into not just the virtualization itself, but making sure that there's monitoring that ensures that this virtualized network functions and pieces actually work.
There is, and there's two parts there. It's making sure that you can work within the environment that you put yourself in. So that common off-the-shelf server can have multiple brands, multiple types of memory, multiple types of hard disk, multiple types of physical components it goes into, and you have to be able to accommodate that. Whether that's creating shells that allow you to have your alarms go through the hardware alarms, whether it's having another interface that gets both, having you be able to interface out, but at the same time, you're in another environment. So if you're going into a virtualization environment with an operator, and you're in just another blade in a large world of blade servers there, how do all of them communicate in a way that the system they've put in place for monitoring all of them actually can monitor all of them? And that's something that our engineers spend a lot of time working on. And it's going to be forever evolving, because now you're no longer dealing in a world where you control the physical medium that you're delivering it in. You are now in a world where the physical medium is constantly changing and you have to adapt.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, Ramiro, thank you so much for talking with us today. We've been talking with Ramiro Nobre of Accedian Networks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.